I don't always record videos in my car in a parking lot, but when I do, it's because I received an education. And today, I'm sharing how I received an education about the F word. Hold on to your seats, kids. Today's going to be a wild ride. A long, long time ago, in the time when phones were still tethered to the wall and people actually read the newspaper to find the news, and some of the news was true, there was a word that people never said. It was a forbidden word. The word was featured in a 1980s film. The word wasn't mentioned in the movie. They actually changed it to fudge. Good move on the movie's part. The kid's mom ended up placing a big bar of soap in their mouth to wash away the filth. It was a word that just wasn't said. In elementary and middle school, you never heard the F word much. And if you did, it was in a pretty heated argument, and people reacted when they heard that word. Everybody gasped. They were immediately whipped away and taken to the principal's office, removed from the school, possibly expelled, at least suspended, in the least had detention. Got in high school, you heard the word every now and then, but it wasn't tossed around. Not saying our language, including me, was completely pure. I went through a phase where I probably should have had my mouth washed out once or twice. I am no perfect person. Before we move forward with this little story time, I have to confess that for several years I was locked in a time capsule of sorts. After I was married and had children, I stayed home full-time with them. We shared a car, so my husband worked full-time. I didn't have a car. I didn't get out much. And believe it or not, we didn't have internet in our house for many, many years till our kids were close to being teenagers. So I was kind of locked in my own space. So you can imagine my surprise and dismay when the events that were about to unfold happened. It was a warm summer evening, and my husband pulled into the filling station to put gas in the car. While we were waiting, we had the windows of the car rolled down. In the back seat, in a car seat, I had my toddler daughter. She may have been a year and a half. She was just learning to talk. She was at that age where you pick up on everything. You're like a sponge. And I heard this guy having a conversation on his phone. Yes, cell phones were a thing by then. Every other word was the F word. He was just cheerfully holding on a conversation with this person on the other end of the line. I didn't realize you could say the F word that many times in one conversation. Normally, I wouldn't even attempt to approach a person like that, but the windows were down, and every time he spoke this shocking word, it reverberated from his lips, and the sound vibrated through the air and landed in our ears and registered in our brain, and my mama instincts took control, and before I knew it, I was holding a conversation with a young man and confronting him. I explained that I had a young daughter just learning to speak in the back seat, and I would rather her first words not include his limited vocabulary filler. I have to say he handled it very well. He actually went as far to apologize, and he seemed sincerely sorry that he was saying this horrible word over and over in front of me and my young daughter. That happened around 18 or so years ago. If the same thing happened today, I have to imagine that it would not have ended quite the same way. He may have said, "What are you talking about? What word am I saying that's wrong? I don't see any problem with it." You can't go an hour without hearing that word on the TV, in a movie, in a parking lot, in a store, picking up your kids at school. So what does the F word mean? Well, it certainly doesn't mean what it meant even 15 years ago. People toss it around like it's nothing. It's as mundane as water. So what's the big deal? A bad word isn't a bad word anymore. No big deal, right? I'm going to bite the F-bomb bullet here. This is a big, bold, frightening thing to say. Could it be that we are letting go of boundaries and standards and yielding to a culture that doesn't care for one another, not even enough to tame our tongues? That's concerning to me. Again, I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not naive. I know that even putting this video out there, I am a tiny voice. I'm taking a chance of hearing insults or reading insults and the F-bomb going off like crazy in the comments below. It's just a word, right? What are you thinking, woman? Quit ranting, you boomer. For one, I'm not a boomer. Not quite yet. But it's just something for us to consider. With all of that being said, I have a challenge today. We'll call it the F-word challenge. If, say, by chance, you have adapted this as a normal part of your vocabulary, let's see if we can't be a little more creative with our vocabulary. We can all use some improvement. I know I can. And I'm not thinking that we're going to change the whole world. I am willing to try to make a difference, to clean up my thinking, to clean up my words in order to respect other people. If nothing else, to respect my grandparents, my parents, and all of those people who came before me that cared enough about each other to keep this word forbidden and hide it. It only came out in the worst of moments, and it brought out the worst in people. I know it's just a word, but words are powerful. They make a difference. Maybe if we clean up the way we think and speak to one another, the world might just be a little bit of a better place. So this is my Wednesday's Why. This was my education on the evolution of the F word. Let's love each other. Let's do what we can to respect each other and make the F word powerful again. Maybe not. Let's just try not to use it. And if you happen to still be sticking around because you were wondering about what the meaning of the F word is, don't look it up, and good for you. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.